Before we start, I'd like you to hit that red subscribe button so you'll not only be notified of every video that gets uploaded on our channel, but also show us some support and love as well. Hey there guys, what's up and welcome back to Vavoom. Pawn Stars has had a great run ever since it first premiered. But there have been times when Rick Harrision and the guys have been able to cut a deal that might exactly profit them. There have been scams and bad deals throughout the years, but some of them were so severe in losses that Pawn Stars faced bankruptcy afterwards. Let's have a look at some of them right here in this video. Number 1. The biggest scam.
Is that the hat?
This is the original hat that Gene Wilder wore in the original film.
There are some people who are aware of how big of a fan Rick Harrision is of Willy Wonka, but unfortunately there are also those who are not only aware of it, but will even use it as leverage against him, and that's just what happened. Harrision ended up paying over $105,000 for a piece of memorabilia from the original Willy Wonka set. His biggest mistake was not affirming the product was a specialist, and this became the reason for his major loss. Now the scam wasn't about the products, but rather its size. The tiny little collectible piece was worth between $40,000 to $45,000 in many markets, and Rick ended up offering more than twice the price of that product. Number 2. One mistake after another.
You want to know the difference between these two relics right here? This one's worth $2,500. This one's worth nothing.
When talking about the Harrision family, Rick's son Corey Harrision had his fair share of trouble around pawning various items. One time, Corey was conned into paying $4,000 for not just one, but 4 different Rolex watches, which all turned out to be fake. Another time he was tricked into ponying up $31,000 for a supposedly game-worn jersey from the 1960s. When he looked into it, he found out that the jersey didn't belong to any player from the 60s and hadn't even been worn to any baseball game. Minor mistakes might not seem like a big deal, but in the long run, it's these mistakes that end up costing the show not only their money, but also their reputation. Number 3. The Wells Fargo Incident. Going back to Rick Harrision and his blunders, seeing as he's a lot more experienced than the other employees at the shop, one might think he could spot a scammer a mile away. But that wasn't the case when a seller came into his shop with a very ancient storage vault from Wells Fargo, which had a pair of rusted chains attached to it. Although the loss wasn't huge, Rick, completely entranced by the worn-down shackles, paid $450 for an item that would later be branded as completely fake by an expert. Number 4. Shoeless and Clueless.
I have a book signed by Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Nowadays, signatures from celebrities are admired by fans and often sold for charitable deeds for huge sums of money. But autographs from the 20th century are even more valuable. So one day, when a person came into the shop claiming to have a book with Shoeless Joe's signature on it, it rightfully caught Rick's attention. The most rare part of this insignia was that Shoeless Joe was an illiterate baseball player, so his signatures have ended up being a lot more valuable these days. Rick shelled out $13,000 for that book. After consulting an expert, he found out that Joe's sign had been faked and was in fact one of the worst forgeries he had ever seen. Number 5. Diamonds Buy.
When you're looking at a CZ or a fake diamond, they're too perfect.
Seeing that this business has been run by the Harrision family from the late 80s, one would think that it's been smooth sailing from the very beginning. But Richard Harrision has seen his fair share of scammers and cons. In the early 70s and late 80s, there was a craze for a new man-made material called cubic zirconia, which closely resembled diamonds but was worthless as a gem. Richard himself was conned into buying $40,000 worth of this gem, which he later found out were worthless in the open market. Number 6. The biggest bust.
Something's stolen, I don't want it in my shop, plain and simple.
We don't want stolen.
Continuing with the theme of diamonds, Rick himself admitted that the purchase described ahead was his biggest failure to date. One day, when a man came to the shop looking to sell a pair of diamond earrings, Rick did his due diligence by verifying that they were real. However, the scam wasn't necessarily about the diamonds, but rather who they belonged to. After a couple of days, when the police came to inquire about the diamonds, Rick found out that he had paid $40,000 for an item that had been stolen from their rightful owner. In the end, he had to return the diamonds and lost all the cash from the transaction. This brings us to the end of our video, which I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you did, do let us know by hitting the like button and subscribing to our channel. Also, watch the 2 videos right now that are on your screen because I'm sure you'll love them. And with that, I'll be seeing you in the next video.